Noel.
Hey, Rachel.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so this is Coffee and Conversations. What is your favorite coffee, if you like coffee?
I do like coffee, and I normally drink a cup in the morning. But thinking about what my favorite drink is, I actually like tea lattes. So that would be my favorite drink.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've had that before. Yeah, I love chai tea.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. But so you just do like one cup and you're like good for the day?
I try to limit to one cup. And if I have anything over past noon, I can't sleep at night. So
that's me. If I have any caffeine almost past 3, I'm like, well, I'm going to be up or I'm going to wake up multiple times in the night.
Yeah.
So, well, we are finishing up our series on like shame and just like not having it anymore. And you are a counselor, marriage counselor. And I would just love to hear more about your background and how you got into counseling and just more about you.
Yeah. So counseling is a second career for me. So I actually went to school for business and worked in the corporate world for about 15 years. There was a change for the company that I was working for. And so then I just kind of started thinking about, are there other things that I would like to be doing? And then God just opened some doors for me to pursue counseling. I was around 40 at the time, and I really did not want to go to grad school as a 40-year-old because I didn't want to be doing homework. And it just kind of worked out. And so I've been doing counseling for about the last 10 years.
Okay, awesome. And do you mostly do marriage counseling?
Yeah. So I do individual adults and marriages, but marriage is kind of where I actually like to focus my time.
Okay. Is that where you kind of feel led into or just kind of fell into that way or?
Yes. So just through some of my own experiences with marriage and kind of in the early years, some of the struggles that we went through and feeling like we didn't really know where to go for help and like who to talk to. And being from a Chinese American background, we don't really talk about those things. And so just felt really led to go into a space where I could maybe provide that for other people who were experiencing something similar.
That's awesome. Someone that is wanting marriage counseling, maybe the wife wants to go, but like the husband doesn't want to go. Just some motivation, some words to, I don't know, maybe encourage how to talk to the husband about that or vice versa. Like the husband wants to go, the wife doesn't want to go, or just someone that may need some marriage counseling.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually get that a lot. So when people come in for counseling for the first time, often like how they leave is they say, oh, this isn't really as bad as I thought it was going to be. And so we really try to create just a safe space for people to be able to talk about hard things, and it's not to blame anyone or, point out the things that you're doing wrong all the time, but just, have space for conversations because we can't really change anything unless we're willing to talk about them.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part sometimes, right? Is being willing to talk about that and be truthful. But I think it is so awesome when, by one or the other spouse is like, yes, I am willing to go in, even though they're not really wanting to go in and work on it. Yeah. What are some like red flags or things you see that you're like, oh, maybe, you should go to marriage counseling or I'm just a believer on sometimes before you even get to that problem, maybe you should be every now and then doing some marriage counseling or have like some kind of mentor that kind of helps you through that. But maybe some red flags on, okay, maybe we need to go to some marriage therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most common things we see people coming in with are, one, communication issues. So people talk about how it's difficult for them to communicate. And then the second one is just the desire to feel like they're working together as a team. Okay. And so that's really what they want to come out of marriage counseling, being able to experience.
Okay. With those different things, what are some key, things that you can work on at home with either, I know a big one is like money and kids and communication. I know that was a big one for me and my husband. Just different things like that to kind of help at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that anytime you're just open to having conversations about those things can be helpful. And so I think sometimes where people can get stuck is feeling like the other person is not really hearing them or acknowledging what they're saying. And my experience in working with couples is that I often feel like people are not actually looking for complete agreement, right? It's not like I necessarily want you to 100% agree with me all the time, but it's that when we have a difference of opinion, that when you can acknowledge that it is different and acknowledge the validity of it, right? So you may not think that's the best option, but it is an option, and there are some good things about that option.
How do you, I guess, come to an agreement on that? If one person has an opinion, the other one has an opinion, I know you can butt heads a lot on that. So
for sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I think compromise is really important, learning how to compromise. And so one of the things that we often talk to people about is, there's a spectrum for how strongly you feel about something, right? So there are these absolutes and convictions, all the way to like just kind of personal preferences. And so you kind of have to evaluate for yourself, like how strongly do I actually feel about this certain issue? And then see if there can be some compromise on that.
Okay. Something I'll have to try at home myself. With kids and stuff, even I know that's a big thing, even for us in our marriage, how I guess going back to that kind of on, I agree that I think this way, I think that way.
Yeah.
Safety, another factor.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know a lot of times when we talk about parenting, we kind of make the comment that, kids don't come with an instruction manual, which is true kind of, but actually I think the instruction manual that you get is whatever you experienced as a kid, right? And so we often parent out of however we saw ourselves being parented.
And are there, I guess, you're not agreeing on that, ways to kind of fix that and work through that? And I'm sure that's years of probably work. And would that be marriage, or would that be like, okay, individually, we probably need to work on that and then like come together on it?
Yeah. So
it's a tricky one.
Yeah, for sure. Tricky. And I think it kind of depends, right? So sometimes there's individual work to be done and sometimes it's together work. Okay. But what's important is, we want to see like, what did you actually experience in childhood and how did that impact you, positive and negative? And what do you want to do for your kids, right? What do you want their experience to be like?
Yeah. What things, I guess, you want to take from your childhood or what you don't. And I guess being aware of it too, and fixing that and talking about it.
Yeah.
Back to communication on what's important to us for our kids. And I think that is such a big thing once you're married and you have kids, and it just gets so busy that, taking to baseball, taking to karate, to soccer, all this stuff that sometimes it's hard to go back and communicate. And then you're just living with a roommate sometimes because y'all are just going your separate ways all the time.
Yeah.
Are there any key things to kind of keep your marriage, I get not living like roommates, basically like you feel like you're married, you feel like you're partners. Yeah. I know that's a thing I hear a lot too, is like, we're just so busy that we just don't ever have time.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be very intentional during that season of life, to have moments of emotional connection with your spouse, and know that it is just a season, right? Yeah. Like your kids are not going to be that age forever where you're going to have to be driving them all over to different activities. And so there has to be intentionality. But I think that sometimes people think intentionality means like it has to be like a official date night.
Yeah.
And I really think that intentionality can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be one night having dinner, doing something super romantic. I think anytime you're able to just like pause and have a moment to connect and have conversation about how you're doing apart from kids, apart from work, like just kind of individual. And if you're able to do that consistently, then hopefully you'll be able to maintain the emotional connection.
Yeah, I think that is huge what you said on how you're doing, like your spouse, like without the kids, because I feel like in our marriage, sometimes it got to the point where like, okay, like how's baseball going for this kid and how's this going for
Right.
this kid? And
Yeah.
not asking each other individually, like,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think that is such a big key. And just knowing date night can look so different, like you said, for
Yes.
everybody. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, say you have a couple that they just feel like their marriage is so far gone, there's no way back. Divorce is thrown around all the time. What would you say to them?
Well,
I know there's so many scenarios in that. Yeah.
there are. First, I hope that people do not wait until they get to that stage before they call us. It is very difficult once people get to that stage to be able to do the work that needs to be done, which is not to say that it's impossible, but it's just harder, right?
Yeah.
It would be easier if they had come to us earlier. But I think that our God is a big God, right? And he can work miracles. And so sometimes it's not really up to us. And so if somebody finds themselves in a situation like that, I would still encourage them to seek some counseling. And maybe there is a place to still work through some of those things. Because, you know, when I think about just marriage or even just human relationships, like we're all looking for this like safe attachment, right?
Yes.
And that being defined as like being seen, heard, understood. And so even in the midst of conflict, we can still try to help people be able to experience that with one another.
Okay. In the scenario, there's kids at home, parents are fighting all the time. What is a good, I guess, the healthiest way to kind of do that? Like you're fighting all the time. Do we need to do that like in the room? Obviously, it's super unhealthy for the kids to see like, we're going to get a divorce and throwing that out all the time. And just a little bit, if anyone's listening to this, how to do that like in a healthier way until you can maybe get to counseling or...
Yeah. So I would say that if it's maybe more light fighting, right? It's okay for kids to see that, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's important is for them to see the repair process. So it's okay to have conflict, and then this is how you actually repair with one another. And so being able to model that for kids is really important.
Okay.
If conflict has escalated so bad that there really isn't much repair happening, or there's not respect that's being shown to one another, then that really needs to be done away from the kids, right? You don't want them to witness that bad behavior because, well, it's going to create instability for them, right? Like they're going to start to worry about what's happening with mom and dad. What is our home going to look like? What's going to happen in the future? And so we really want to protect the kids' experience in that.
Yeah, I could see that, them feeling so much pressure and almost like guilt on themselves. And, there is a couple that just talks about divorce all the time. The wife maybe wants to go to therapy and fix it. The husband doesn't. What do you say to that? Or the wife maybe go to therapy and try to fix things, but you have a husband that doesn't. It could go vice versa, but...
Yeah, I think that even if you have a spouse that is unwilling to go to therapy, there is help in just doing some individual work for the one person to get the support that they need, and for them to be able to process some things if spouse is unwilling to do that with them, even for them to get themselves healthier, into a healthier place.
Yeah.
So that they can actually make a good, healthy decision about what to do for the relationship going forward.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's just healthier for your kids too, right? Just like
absolutely.
It can change them, if anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're having a lot of unresolved conflict at home, like there's going to be natural spillover into different parts of your life, right? Whether it is with parenting and kids or work or, maybe your own parents, right? Like
it'll come out somewhere.
Yes, it will come out somewhere.
Yeah. I hear gaslighting happens a lot. Could you explain that a little bit more in case somebody doesn't know what that means or if they are being gaslighted or
Yeah. Yeah. I think the easiest definition for that is just somebody dismissing your experience of something, right? So if I accidentally run into you and step on your foot, right? And you say, ow, you stepped on me. And I say, no, I really didn't. Like you tripped and fell, or maybe kicked the chair, right? Then that's gaslighting, right? I'm trying to deny that's something that I did. And usually people do that because there is shame in being able to admit something that they've done, right? So, I know that this series is about grace.
Yeah.
And so, part of the experience of shame, I think, is to be able to experience grace through that, right? And so we have to be honest about when we need to take ownership of things that we've done, whether or not we intentionally try to hurt someone, right? It doesn't matter what our motivation was, but the impact of our actions. If we did actually hurt someone, then we should take ownership of what we have actually done.
Yeah. What if you have a spouse that is just kind of unwilling to do that? Like it's happening over and over and over again.
Yes. And we often do see that where spouse has a lot of difficulty understanding or taking ownership of what they've actually done. And that's when I think individual counseling can be helpful. Just for you to have a space away from them to be able to process your experiences and kind of uncover the truth about them. Like, did I really experience it the way that I think I did? And so doing some individual work can help with that.
Is there, after counseling, is there a way to kind of reply back to if somebody's doing that to you kind of all the time, like in a healthy way where maybe they'll start picking up on it? And
yeah, I mean, we can be honest, right? I think where people maybe get stuck is believing that just because I'm clear about something, then I have the expectation that either you're going to understand it or you're going to do something different. And when we're in relationship with somebody who has a really hard time of reflecting on their own actions, we can't hold on to that expectation because it may never happen.
Yes.
And so then what our role becomes then is I'm just going to be clear about what I experienced and, kind of like leave it at that. Like, I'm just going to communicate what I experienced, but let go of my expectation of how you're going to change because that's the other person's responsibility.
Yeah. And that's hard sometimes, but I think with therapy, that would kind of help you a little bit more, be a little more at peace with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're learning to build better boundaries for yourself.
Yes. And boundaries are huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.